Now I'm just gonna take a quick little detour and talk about the environmental reasons for going vegan, environmental justifications for that. And I'm gonna check out search for "you can't be a meat-eating environmentalist" in Google and see what comes up, because I remember that being the name of a pamphlet that was a different pamphlet that was also offered by, I think, maybe even the same company, Vegan Outreach. I'm not sure. So let's check it out. Can't be a vegan. Vegan can't be a meat-eating environmentalist. Let's see. So it's loading rather slowly, but you'll see that besides the animal cruelty that goes on, the environmental impacts are just horrible and should be taken into consideration above everything, because really that's the most compelling reason for going vegan. But the cruelty is a close second. April 22nd marks the 40th anniversary of Earth Day. Founded by former Senator Gaylord Nelson, the original Earth Day put environmental protection on the national radar, leading to the creation of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and passage of the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts. 40 years later, Earth Day has gone global. 1 billion people are expected to participate in Earth Day celebrations this month, from Buenos Aires, Argentina, to Tokyo, Japan. That's all well and good, but planting trees and cleaning up rivers won't mean much in the long run if we continue to trash the planet with our meat-eating habit. To truly go green, we must start with what's on our plates. Raising and killing animals for food wastes so many resources and causes so much destruction, it's hard to know where to begin. According to the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, which I've cited in Vegan Outreach already, 30% of the Earth's ice-free land is now involved either directly or indirectly in livestock production. As the world's appetite for meat increases, countries around the globe are bulldozing huge swaths of land in order to make more room for animals and the crops that feed them. Then there's the energy required to operate the factory farms, feedlots, slaughterhouses, and trucks that transport animals, and the amount of water that is squandered on animal agriculture. It takes more than 4,000 gallons of water per day to produce food for a single meat eater, compared to 300 gallons needed for a vegan. And don't forget the edible crops that are used to feed animals instead of hungry, malnourished people. What else do we get from all the grain, fossil fuels, and water that go into making meat and milk? More waste in the form of tons and tons of feces. Pound for pound, a pig produces 4 times as much waste as a human does. According to the Union of Concerned Scientists, factory farms generate about 300 million tons of manure every year, more than double the amount produced by the entire human population in the United States. Okay, the rest are comments. I was just checking because it looked like a rather long article if you look at the right for the scroll bar. Okay. No federal guidelines regulate how factory farms treat, store, and dispose of trillions of pounds of animal excrement that they produce each year. This waste, untreated, unsanitary, and bubbling with chemicals, may be left to decompose in huge lagoons or sprayed over crop fields. Both of these disposal methods result in runoff that contaminates the soil and water and kills fish and other wildlife. There are numerous reports that humans who live near factory farms have been made sick by the pollution. Many suffer from respiratory ailments, neurological problems, and more. Today's meat factories also spew out greenhouse gases that are causing climate change. A 2006 United Nations report reveals that the livestock sector generates more greenhouse gases than all cars, trucks, trains, planes, and ships in the world combined, which it already said in the Vegan Outreach article. It was talking about how it causes more, or it produces more greenhouse gases than all of transport combined. The report attributed 18% of annual worldwide greenhouse gas emissions to farmed animals, but new research indicates that the figure actually could be much higher. In Livestock and Climate Change, the World Watch Institute estimates that raising animals for food really produces 51% of all greenhouse gas emissions. 51%! That is appalling. That is really appalling. If people simply adopted a vegan diet, they could cut out 51% of emissions. If everybody did that, that would slow climate change and reduce the global warming, the greenhouse gases, by a tremendous amount. It would really slow it down. It wouldn't stop it. There's no stopping what's going on right now, actually, because you know, the CO2 levels, they take a while to go down, you know. So since they keep going up and up and up and so forth, and they take a while to go through the motions of the natural environment that turn it back into O2. Because of that, we're already pretty screwed, but we can be less screwed, basically, if we adopt a vegan diet. It's time to face the facts. Most people stop being environmentalists when they sit down to eat. Every time we consume meat, eggs, or dairy foods, we contribute to ecological devastation and the wasteful misuse of resources on a global scale. If we are ever to halt climate change and conserve land, water, and other resources, not to mention reduce animal suffering, we must celebrate Earth Day, at every meal. That was by Ingrid Newkirk, president and co-founder of PETA. Now, I know what many of you might be thinking, PETA, like, that's not credible because PETA does these stupid, rabble-rousing protests that don't really do much. That's true, but if you look at the sources she cites, they are far more credible than she is. So, since she's using these valuable resources, you can't ignore this article. And I think there's more to this also. Meat-eating environmentalist contradiction in terms, and it's also showing YouTube videos. You can't be a meat-eating environmentalist, you can't be a meat-eating environmentalist, so though you might want to check those out also. Just saying, you might want to check those out. I'm going to load this, meat-eating environmentalist, check it out. By Stephanie Rogers, view comments. Okay, so you're an ardent environmentalist. You wear organic clothing, you live in a small, energy-efficient home, ride your bike to work, and always remember your reusable bags when shopping. But for all your efforts, your carbon footprint is still huge, thanks to your diet, which is full of hamburgers, steaks, and ham sandwiches. Nobody's perfect. We've all got our little slip-ups and areas in our lives when we know we could improve. For some people, it's taking long, hot showers in winter or using paper towels. But meat eating is a biggie. It has a much greater impact on the environment than using a little more energy than you should every now and then, or occasionally wasting paper. Then there are the impacts on human health and animal welfare. Consider these facts. The livestock sector is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions globally. Cows emit vast amounts of methane, a potent greenhouse gas. So this is talking about greenhouse gases. It's I'm going to show you the resource. It's http://earthfirst.com/meat-eating-environmentalist, a contradiction in terms with a dash between, not a space, between each of those words, and then a slash. Just so you can look at these handily without me talking about everything and using all the time. But anyways, it's talking about the greenhouse gases, and then it talks about animals raised for food in the U.S. produce 130 times more excrement than the human population. Factory farms dump billions of gallons of hormone, antibiotics, blah blah blah. Microscopic organism feeds off the phosphorus and nitrogen found in manure. It's a lethal toxin. Since 1995, an additional 1 billion fish have been killed. Overuse of antibiotics in animals is causing more strains of drug-resistant bacteria. Raising animals for food consumes more than half of all the water in the U.S. Raising animals for food is the number one cause of deforestation around the world. Animal feed is grown by intensive farming operations that use massive quantities of pesticides. 20 times more land is required to feed a meat eater than a vegetarian. Overgrazing has turned a fifth of all pastures and ranges into deserts. All of this leads to the simple question: can you be an environmentalist and still eat meat? And you can check this whole page out on your own, because it's a lot to just read blah 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 when you can read it on your own, you know? So yeah, just check this out, earthfirst.com, meat-eating environmentalist, contradiction in terms, and you can see for yourself that it's a huge contradiction in terms.